pandemic trapped a bunch of aging role-playing gamers in their homes, forcing them to crawl out of their pen and paper comfort zone and into the online world of virtual tabletops and video calls. To join them as they raise the curtain to share their stories, insights, and love of all things geek. So grab your longsword and your +1 bottle of Viagra and get ready for another episode of Advanced Age Roleplaying Gamers podcast. That's a lot of syllables for one sentence.
Hello and welcome to the Advanced Age Roleplaying Gamers podcast. I'm Nathan, and this is
Matt.
All right, and we're doing something a little bit different today. You know, usually we're an actual play podcast. Right now we're playing Twilight 2000. That we're branching out a little bit and doing some more things, and so we've got our first big time interview from a true RPG celebrity.
Oh, I don't know about that. That's silliness.
Mitchell Wallace from Penny for a Tale. And so he's got a Kickstarter going right now, a game called Necrobiotic. And it's a role-playing game set in the grim future where people, the dead, animated dead, I guess, share the world. So without further ado, welcome to the show. Mitchell, do you want to start by telling us a little bit about yourself and Penny for a Tale?
Yeah, sure. I am Mitchell, Penny for a Tale on all social medias. It's pretty much where you can find me. Not only am I the chief creative director over at Penny for a Tale LLC, but I'm also the marketing director for Helmgast, which produces Cult and Neotech troubleshooters, as well as marketing director for Black Void Games, which of course produces Black Void. Other than that, I've written for like Shadows over Saul, as well as for the new Fragged Empire 2nd Edition. I did art direction for Flames of Freedom, the new Zweihander, like Hamilton-esque TTRPG that came out, I think, earlier this year, or maybe later last year.
Time has no meaning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, during the Panini. And so now we are trying our hand at publishing a TTRPG, which is Necrobiotic, which I am super excited about.
Yeah, I backed it.
Yay! Thanks.
So first off, congrats! It's actually successfully funded. Last I checked, it was about creeping up towards 350% funded, which is awesome. I mean, your first Kickstarter out of the gate. I mean, I know, right? That's amazing. And looking at it, one of the things I already knew from playing games with you before and talking to you before that you backed a lot of Kickstarters, but I looked on there and you backed 131. That's
oh man, I was hoping you wouldn't look at that. Don't look at my backers.
You got to dig with this deep investigative type reporting that we're doing here.
People need the truth.
Don't mention it Thursday nights during the game. I don't want to be judged.
Yeah, so it's I thought I was doing a lot. I've got 14, which I thought, but man, my wife would be having to talk with me.
Oh yeah, if it wasn't for this being my job,
your job,
sure,
yeah,
it would have been an issue.
But think about it, it's really good though. I mean, you're not just out there kind of in for yourself. You're supporting a lot of independent creators, like yourself. So first question before we get into Necrobiotic, I was thinking over the past year or two, what have been your favorite Kickstarters that you've backed?
Ooh, all right. Now I'm gonna look at my my backed ones. Which luckily I have right here. So Parslings was a TTRPG. I don't think I had the opportunity to back it, but I did. I was in a campaign for it for about 10 sessions on Weave the Tale, and that was an interesting TTRPG. It's another card-based TTRPG.
Oh, okay.
So very interesting. I thought it was very clever by Smunchy Games. Definitely check it out if you want to. Gods of Metal Ragnarok Ragnarok by Ivan Norman. Yeah, I know, right? Like, I was like, this sounds awesome.
You're
and
talking Matt's game now.
yeah, like it's perfect, and they even have like a soundtrack for it. It's just like heavy metal and stuff. So it's just like it speaks to me in so many ways. Other than that, I think like Wander Home was really cool because I think it was one of the first times I saw indie TTRPG designer hit that kind of 6-digit revenue on Kickstarter, which was super cool. J-Dragon does a lot of great work, and so it was really cool seeing that happen. And then recently Into the Motherlands is I think it might be like I think it's definitely the most successful all POC created TTRPG game. So Into the Motherlands, an original Afrofuturist TTRPG.
I did see that one.
Yeah, and they've breached 6 figures, and they're coming up past 200,000. So it's really cool to see that, and obviously I'm a backer, and yeah, it's just a lot of creative things happening despite the pandemic, and maybe even because of it. But who knows?
That's terrific. So Matt, you want to go up next?
Yeah, sure. No, we've all seen the tagline. This is Necrobiotic, but for those who don't know, can you tell us a little bit more about what Necrobiotic is?
Yeah, Necrobiotic is a melancholy TTRPG set in the year 2100 after humanity has limped forward. Births have declined, deaths have increased, and thus all that remains are those people behind the walls of Florence. And they are only able to survive because they figured out a way via science and thermodynamics and steampunk stuff to reanimate the dead and program them to perform the manual labor of society. And so you have this very interesting world where death is prevalent and walks by you and takes care of many of the functions. Humanity's future is still a question mark, and there's just kind of this sense of melancholy that I think everyone can relate to now more than probably before because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so it's just one of my favorite parts about it is because of kind of that shadow. It definitely illuminates the candles and the stories of hope that you can tell within it. So it's been really fun running some one shots with it. So.
Yeah, I think we've all had a little touch of dystopian that maybe we didn't have 18 months ago. I guess just real quick on this. So what role do the dead play in the game? So they're not player characters, but they're always around. Right? They're sort of in and about the world. Have they kind of taken on the jobs? I think I was listening to one of your gosh, I could get this wrong. One of the actual plays where they were talking about like the farms, right? The laborers.
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah. So how do you see like the players interacting, or what's sort of the dead kind of role do they play?
Yeah, so there's kind of 3 different avenues for the dead. One of which there is a stretch goal to play a construct. Okay. So that's a little bit further on, and we're going to be including that within the core rule book. It's supposed to be a rare thing, but we do want our players, if they want to explore it, to explore it if they want. The other avenue is that there's always that question because most of the book is written as an interview between 2 different people talking to each other. And so we like to think of it as an unreliable narrator. And they say, the constructs are devoid of all life. But we want the players to have that question in their mind, like, is it really devoid of all life? An actual play I was doing the other day, like a construct started crying, and that just shook everyone's foundation, because potentially you could have a whole subsect of humanity enslaving people and not allowing them to rest, which is a whole nother like mind thing that right. people have to deal with. And then the third function of the construct, I think, just kind of reinforces the sense of loss. It's why I kind of struggle with the word of post-apocalyptic with Necrobiotic. Sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't, because there's still society. you have wonders, you have law and stuff like that, and for the most part, like the people in Florence, they're okay, right? They're okay right now. But the constructs serve as a reminder that things were much better in a bygone era, and that in the end, your body is not your own. It's the legal property of the Citadel afterwards. And not being able to kind of bury your dead or do all the ceremonies that, humanity's used to, that kind of helps them through the whole grieving process.
Yeah.
So just kind of those three functions. It's all just very like melancholy. I think it's probably the best word I like describing it because I'm a huge fan of it in stories and such.
It's that makes me think about things like, what happened if you see like a dead loved one, carrying, stacks of wood or something like. I mean, that would be pretty jarring.
Yeah.
So there's lots of opportunities for. It's
terrifying, and in humanity does a lot to kind of remove the dead from everyday life. I mean, even our graveyards are usually set aside in different places, and so having death as a constant reminder on a day-to-day basis is it's very interesting seeing players interact with that and how they kind of respond to it.
Yeah, so that sounds pretty compelling. So I've heard a little bit about this, but if you could kind of tell our listeners like how you found this game and how this whole project got started, that's a really good story. So.
Oh yeah, it was my friend and business partner, Mr. Smith, went to Italy on vacation. He went to the Italian game store called Stratagema, which is tied with the oldest game store in Italy. And he picked up, I think I actually have it right here. Yeah. He picked up this game, El Drenaggio, which translate roughly to like gear or something like that. Mm-hmm. And the owners of the bookstore actually are the ones who created it, created the TTRPG. It's based off of Valerio, who is also one of the creators. His books, which are written in Italian, I think there's about 5 out there, which kind of follow the whole plot line beginning to end. And so he brought it back and he's like, hey, you should translate this and learn how to play it. I'm not good at it with languages. I tried it. I was like, nah. And so I messaged Andrea, who is kind of one of the main guys over there at Stratagema. And I was like, hey, can you run this for me on my channel? And he did. And I really liked it. And so I just poked him for like the next year. And I was like, can I bring it to English, please? Until he was like, yeah. I was like, sweet. And that just became like that was the start of the journey of bringing Necrobiotic to life.
That's really cool. You think about like all this like serendipity about it just happens like a friend of yours going to England on vacation runs into this game that is made by the people that run the store.
Yeah,
brings it back to you, who's like, this is you've been writing for some RPGs and things like that, and you a year later you've got this Kickstarter that's successful, and now you're here with us, and we just started our podcast on April Fool's Day this year, so like it's
fittingly.
Yeah, it's all kind of, it's pretty
yeah,
neat.
A lot of coincidences kind of thrown together to bring us to this one point. It was interesting. Today I was doing another push for marketing for the TTRPG, and just going back through all my contacts and people I've gotten to know over the years while I was streaming and interviewing and stuff like that, and just being like, hey, I helped you with your Kickstarter. Can you help me with mine? And they've been really nice. It's just really cool to see like that whole road and where it leads.
Yeah,
it makes you wonder how many other like hidden gems are out there, right? Because we go to our own local game store, and so we can find mainstream games, indie games. But like you said, your friend was over there. Like, how many other places have got some of this, creative talent that we haven't even tapped into? That's pretty cool that you're able to bring that here to the audience. That's pretty cool. Makes you want to go and go to Europe and start searching game stores, right? Kind of see what else is out there.
Right? Like, there's so much interesting stuff. I mean, the Genesis is one of my favorite TTRPGs, and they're German, and not much people in the West, even though it's English, know about it. There's been a surgence of Italian TTRPGs being translated into English, like within the last year and a half. Lex Arcana, like Rex something, and there's a few others that I can't quite remember. And even like Japan, right? You got Ryutama, Shinobigami, Kakigumari or something like that. It just came out on Kickstarter, I think, 2 years ago. But yeah, you get to see like all these cool, like different perspectives of game design and storytelling. And it's just really beautiful and gorgeous to see it kind of all to come together. I can't wait to like play all the games.
If there was enough time, in the day, then that's all we'd be doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what really drew you in with the game? So you had it in your hands. Like, what really kind of said, I got to play this game?
There were two things that spoke to me. One was the dead, right? I love the creepiness of the constructs. I'm a huge fan of horror. And so having that as a backdrop, just, there's so much you can do with it. And I've ran, I think, 2 horror games within Necrobiotic, and I've enjoyed it because it can get really creepy. And then the second thing was the use of cards. I really enjoy card-based TTRPGs just because you can customize it. And the fact that your deck equals your character sheet. So I always like my absolute daydream is for like players to come to Gen Con with their character in like a deck and like throw down like they're going to a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament. Like, let's do this. I'm my character from back home. My guy brought him. Let's do it. And it just seeing people interact like that. Like, I always love the look and feel of cards, and even playing it, I enjoy more than rolling. So yeah, it just kind of spoke to me that way.
Yeah, we played another card game. Shadows Over Soul.
Yeah, they just finished their latest Kickstarter. I think Jovian Whispers, which was pretty cool. Huh. Yeah. It's I think I wrote some parts of it, or at least gave some ideas.
Left my character out. Thank you very much.
Hey, okay, that was Flames of Freedom. And next time I'm just gonna have a campaign that's just you.
All right, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So Matt, what you had?
Oh no, I was just gonna. So the card mechanic is very interesting. I mean, so when you say like the deck of cards is somebody's character sheet, so I think from listening through some of the actual plays, I think I've got the mechanics down. It's very different than I'm used to. But do you mind just maybe explaining just a little bit out there for folks who aren't as familiar, who are used to just rolling dice?
Oh yeah, of course. Your character sheet, for the most part, is broken up into like 2 attributes or features: flesh, steel, steam, and gear. And each of those correspond to a suit. So flesh is heart. That's kind of like your social. Steel is diamonds, which is your physicals. Steam is mentals for your clubs, and then gear is like the thing that makes you super special when you're training. Clubs, like I said. And yeah, so you kind of just put those cards together based on like how much value you have in those, and that kind of makes the basis of your card deck. And during play, the first day, you take a breath. Everyone needs to take a breath together. So you draw up to 6 cards in your hand, and you get to see those cards. And it's almost like when you wake up in the morning and you can kind of feel how many spoons you have for the day. Like, you look at the cards and you're like, you know what? I'm not talking to anyone today. Today's not my talking day. I don't want to talk to anyone. It's not going to be successful. You can look at your hand and be like, okay, I understand what I can accomplish with this breath. And during the day, whenever something happens, the machinist will provide consequences. to a certain action. So if you're jumping from one building to the next, the consequences would be like falling and taking damage. Two separate consequences. Steal would obviously be the physical trait to jump over, and then the skill would be athletics. If you're trained in it, you can play 2 cards. If you're not, you can only play 1 card. And what you're looking for is a suit that matches the action. So for physical, it's diamond. That provides 1 success. Or you're looking for an 8 or multiples of 8. And that provides another success. So you kind of dictate how important this is to you, and you have that conversation with the GM. And it's just kind of this... Instead of a kind of a lucky roll, the whole day more so comes to more of a strategic resource management, as you know what cards you have in your hand, and you want to save the ones that you know will be useful later on. And of course, you can always take another breath, but then you discard a card and you draw back up to 6, so it kind of moves the deck along. So it just creates kind of this little interesting relationship with the whole story.
Yeah, it sounds interesting, the idea that you kind of know what you're going to be good at or not good at, and sort of kind of guide you into your actions, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, and it also allows, like, even if you don't do socials at all, like you may have one or 3 cards in your whole deck. You at least know if you pull a heart and you have it in your hand, you know, you're going to be successful at one social encounter that day at least. So no more of that, like, barbarian, don't talk to anyone, you're going to mess it up. At least get 1 chance.
Use it wisely, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's gotta count.
Yeah, I can see players using that, basically having it change the way that they attack a problem. Like, maybe they're used to using, like your barbarian example, brute force, and it's like, well, you know what? Today, I'm smart today. I'm super smart today, and I'm gonna puzzle this solution out. So it kind of forces you to kind of get outside your comfort zone a little bit. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah, and I think it kind of reflects that we kind of are different people some days, just based on how we wake up and how we feel. Like, not every day is someone like the super charismatic social person. Sometimes you're just like, you know what, I'm done with people. And so you can look at your cards and be like, yeah, I'm done with people today. I want to punch something.
That's great.
Yeah, so I guess for kind of working down to the game mechanics, so what kind of characters can people play? Are there like archetypes or classes or
Yes. We have 5 archetypes, or jokers as we call them. The first one is the architect, and they are the ones who are really good. They're the ones who program the constructs. They're the ones who extend life and can pretty much put anything back together. There are the technosophists who look at the old world, like the old electronics and computers and stuff like that that's been discarded by humanity because it's just not useful anymore. And they try to find a use of it. There's the technophants, which are part of the techno-powered military division in Florence, who each one of them has like Iron Man armor. With like huge blades and blades that come out of the wrists and everything. It's just super cool. And then you have the engineer, who's in charge of all kind of the modern technology, which is steampunk in design. And then finally, I know I'm missing. Wait, did I get all 5? Architect, engineer, technosophist, technophant. And militia. Militia was the last one. Militia has replaced all of the law in the land. So they protect the law. They detain people. They prosecute people. They investigate people. They kind of hold the whole law gambit right there. So
Judge
that's all on their shoulders. Yeah, exactly.
Judge, yeah.
So you've been running this a lot.
Oh yeah, about like I think 4 times a week or 3 times a week since the beginning of the Kickstarter.
So if you had a chance to play, what kind of archetype what kind of Joker would you play?
So I've only played the game 2 times. The first one was, of course, when Andrea ran it for me. And then last week I was on Top Shelf and they ran the game for me. And I chose the Techno font because I really wanted to run around in Iron Man-esque armor. I was like blowing through buildings and such. Yeah, it was so action-packed. I was like letting loose. It was very cathartic.
Awesome. It's going to depend a lot on the GM, but what kind of adventures do you see like most people kind of being drawn to out of the gate?
Yeah, I think people are going to be really drawn to the wilderness outside of the walls. Florence doesn't really know much about what's happening with the rest of humanity. So I see a lot of investigation regarding that and seeing kind of what the post-apocalyptic landscape looks like. After that, I think a lot of kind of politics within the Citadel itself. I've seen people kind of seeing the Citadel as a more of a big brother type, and so kind of fighting against that. There's also stories concerning the constructs, whether they're real people or not. And then kind of one of my favorite things is just kind of the simple stories of kind of caring for each other. So the other game I ran maybe it was only a couple days ago. The whole mission was them just delivering a bear to another person within the city of Florence that a mother who died wanted to give her daughter that she never got to meet. And that was just kind of the whole investigation, was trying to figure out where this bear went to, which the climax was finally giving it to the daughter who had grown up. And it was just sweet and nice and stuff like that. And so it was really cool seeing that.
Adorable.
I know, right? It was so cute.
It does seem to lend itself to multiple like styles, right? So like you said, you could play a bunch of folks running around in power armor, blasting through stuff, or I definitely, like, I think the couple of the actual plays I've listened to had to me, it was like a mixture of sort of the steampunk, very film noir, sort of a lot of investigation, it's kind of an interesting setting. It definitely has that muted, almost picture it in my head, like in black and white. Almost that subdued color, not bright at all. Like in my head as I'm, listening to these things.
Oh yeah, it would definitely be muted like noir. I think is a great like take to it. I mean, I think of like Blade Runner and stuff in terms of like the synthetics, and I think that has a very good parallel to the story of the construct.
A little bit reminded me of Detroit.
Being
Detroit. Human, right? They're all around you, are they real? Are they not? Yeah, no, I thought that was a really cool thing with Necrobiotic, the dead. Like, that's why I was wondering, like, what's their role? Because I see them as like, do I have this person like serving me dinner? It's like taking care of my children. It's like this undead.
My favorite is the coffee construct with like the carafe in the boiler in its chest cavity. So you just like, when you need a coffee, it just pulls it out of his chest cavity, pours it, puts it back in for nice warmth, which is like, that sounds perfect.
I need one of those.
Yeah. And it's great because I'm a huge fan of horror, and one actual play we did a horror episode, which I was super excited about, where a construct that was given the programming of being a maid or a caretaker of children kind of had some loose programming and thus started killing all the parents and taking all of the children. And so they had to fight like this huge human centipede like construct with all these babies like held with all these arms, and it was horrific because they had to like not only fight this thing but also like be careful not to hurt the babies, and it was a whole thing.
Oh man, I can see how that could go wrong and really fun, amusing ways.
yeah. Like I love horror, and there's definitely if you like horror, there's so much to play with there.
So, think about what Matt was just talking about. Looking at the art for this thing, so the art definitely has like kind of a macabre steampunk feel to it, but still kind of soft, and it's not like scary. It has a mood to it, but there's still like a softness to it. So you can see that the constructs, you kind of like, especially with the cover you have for the Kickstarter with the huge eyes, you kind of feel like, this is, you definitely feel like, you're going to feel sorry for them. Yeah.
There's something else in there, right?
Kind of that pulls that empathy heartstring. So I really like the art for this, and you've been sharing a lot of the art on Twitter and some other places, and it's coming together. Like, if you said like this is going to be an animated series on Netflix next year, it's like I was like, oh yeah, that looks like it could be.
Oh, that would be awesome. It's our artist is also an animator, so it's like
it's really good. It's really good. What's their name?
Haley Lee. Yeah, she lives in China. She's from South Korea. Does amazing work. Like, I am always blown away, and like I'm at this point now where I'm like, just do what you feel is best for this piece. Like, she always knows best.
Yeah, it's really pretty good. I mean, and growing up on going to the library for sci-fi and fantasy books, that's how you choose. That's how you used to choose a book. It's like you look at the cover, and then you bring it home and you read it. And that's so.
Yeah, you judge a book by its cover. I don't know why people say don't do it, because we do it all the time.
I do it all the time. Oh, definitely. So, any supplements you're thinking on down the road? Maybe like a Necrobiotic Charm City.
Oh my gosh, there is. So I have a 3-year plan in my head, and that's next year releasing the Dream Theater, which is the sequel to the core rulebook. That provides a little bit more setting material as well as some adventures. We also have like we tease it as one of our stretch goals, the Merchants of Florence, or really the Merchants of Venice. Which is, there's some people from Venice in Florence who stay undercover and such like that. And so, like I said, like the game is based on a set of novels that went from the beginning, pretty much where our campaign starts, all the way to the end, to its resolution. And there's so much in between it that we can use for supplements to expand the world, different archetypes, worlds, cities, different ways to how people navigated death. There's so much that we want to bring to the front that I'm super excited.
I'm really excited to see any of the supplements you do with the playing a construct. I mean, if nothing else, at least it's good to know if you die, you could always be back in the party again.
Exactly, right?
Making coffee and
Yeah, like, and that brings like that's a whole campaign right there, is trying to figure out a way for your friend to continue living as a construct without being like dissected or put down. It's just that's a stretch goal I'm very excited about, because I think people are going to have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah. Hey, Kurt, get over here. Matt, do you have any other?
No, that's it.
Questions?
Yeah, that's all the questions I've got.
Any final words for us, Mitchell? Anything else that we need to know?
I would say for people watching, definitely check out the Kickstarter. Like I said, there's a construct, which is super cool. There's another Joker called the Children of the River, who are a religious faction able to do minor miracles. So we get a little bit of mysticism into the setting. We also have some really cool stretch goal writers, including Petronaldo, who created Cult 4th Edition, and Matthew Dawkins, who wrote, for the most part, World of Darkness, especially They Came from the Grave and a lot of vampire. That and like all these other amazing stretch goal writers. So, the more people believe in it now, the better the final product will be. And that's kind of our hope and dream, for people to put it on their bookshelf, show their friends, hit their friends with it, make them constructs, and get that coffee.
That's right.
Perfect. Well, thanks for spending time with us. This is really good. Good catching up too. It's like,
I know, right?
I miss gaming with you. So hopefully, as things open up, we'll get that chance again real soon.
I would love that.
Hey, it was great meeting you. Thanks for sitting down with us. No, this is really cool. I've enjoyed the actual plays, and I was reading through the quick start rules. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's all. I'm humbled. This is really cool.
All right, 500%. Here we come, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Need all the stretch. Yeah, got to get the construct stretch goal in, right?
Yes. We have to. We need it so badly. I have the rules as like a Google Drive folder, so it's either I get to play with it, or everyone else gets to play with it. It's your choice.
All right.
Awesome.
All right, thanks, Mitchell. Look forward to hearing from you again soon.